Next up, we've got Musashibou Benkei. So come up here, sir, and take a microphone. Before we commence the slideshow, let us quickly check to ensure that they're all there. Yep. And I apologise for that error with your slideshow. When I find the guy who was responsible for going through these beforehand to make sure they're all there, I'll kick his ass for you.
Okay. Before I start the presentation, I have two announcements. One is contractual. Firstly, Malatha from GPC in Overload Everything is sexy. And second, Saren, if you're watching this, please give me back my stuff. So I'll be talking about the relationship CCP has had with the players over the 10 years or more now that they've had working with us cretins. So who am I? I started playing in 2007. It was the first MMO that I'd ever played, and to my disgust, WASD did not work back then. So I immediately quit and then came back later because everyone else was having fun. I had a progression from high-sec to low-sec piracy to null-sec with Cult of War, which was crap. I left. And then I went back to low-sec to null-sec, and now I'm back to living in low-sec. So I've had a pretty hectic life. And during my time in high-sec, I did extensive griefing and mission runner baiting, which was hell fun. I also can't make friends at all. I'm much better at making enemies, as evidenced by this kind of meme that people come up with. So, in 2003, EVE Online was launched, the flagship product for CCP. It boasted a sandbox, which you could do anything you wanted, much different from any other game, with an open and live market, which they had to even hire an economist to monitor, and obviously the curve that Revolution already used, so I'm a bit bummed about that. That's okay. So, what can be called the biggest developer misconduct in CCP was the T20 incident. This was back in 2007, I believe, when a developer by the name of T20, back then part of Reikoku, RKK, and Band of Brothers, gave 6 Tech2 BPOs to his corporation. Yeah, because unlike now, Tech2 BPOs were given out as part of lotteries as opposed to copies from invention. So this was a pretty big deal. And a player by the name of Kugutsuman posted T20's real name on the forums, and he got permabanned for that. And there was a forum dedicated to his name put up under Kugutsuman, which until recently was active for all the lowlives posting all the rubbish that goes on in EVE. But the biggest thing was that we didn't really know what happened to T20. We know that the person was not fired. They continued to work for CCP until the following year. We don't know whether through termination, end of contract, or he was forced to resign. We know nothing. And but CCP hopefully learned from that, and they established the Internal Affairs Division to oversee any kind of possible developer misconduct. And then in 2008, the Council of Stellar Muppets was created, and we had 66 candidates vie for 9 positions. Now, what I found interesting about the elections, obviously, was not about how much PR spin CCP needed to put on it, but the real-life names and identities were disclosed to the voting public instead of just the company, which confused me a little bit, because if you're voting for people who are personalities in game, why do you really care about their real names? You don't really need to know that, only the company. And obviously, they were tied up by NDA, so and the only thing they could really come back to you and was say, oh yeah, we had a really good meeting with CCP, and I promise you there's some good stuff that's happening, but I really can't tell you anything more. So, flash forward to 2011, and the Incarna, Monocle Gate, the Greed is Good article, and the Summer of Rage, but since we live in Upside Down Land, that would have been Winter of Rage for us. Incarna was touted as the big walking in stations expansion, and when it was released, everyone was really excited, and they turned on their computer to find out that they couldn't get through the door. And on top of that, if you tried to run more than 1 client or 2, you'd find out that your computer had turned into a furnace for your graphics card, and a lot of people reported hardware issues, which was a bit of a problem. And then there was the monocle, which was put on the Noble Exchange for 12,000 Aurum. Now, I'm not sure if it's still the same exchange rate, but one Plex was 3,500 Aurum, which meant that that monocle cost almost 60 actual dollars to buy. And the funny thing that made it even worse was there was a developer who made the comment, well, we do realize it's quite expensive for a microtransaction item, but you know, people buy a $1,000 pair of jeans. Well, I'm pretty sure my jeans cost less than that. So that caused quite a bit of commotion, and it was made worse with the internal newsletter that was leaked titled Greed is Good, where CCP Soundwave was on the article as having supported further microtransactions, and many people mistook him for advocating gold ammo back then. And then there was the leaked email from Hilmar who said, it's okay, the players are all angry, but you know, this is expected, stay the course. So people got even more upset that their protests were falling on seemingly deaf or even worse, ignorant ears. So people started shooting at the monument outside of JITA, which turned into the JITA riots. That was quite an interesting light show. I saw that once and promptly died. I'll throw Summer Blink in there purely because it was fascinating to me how the Ishikone Watch Scorpion was handed out to 11 or so employees of Summerblink. Now Summerblink, as with other websites such as our friends with eBet, is a for-profit organization, and yet they were supposedly secretly getting limited edition ships worth tens of billions of ISK. And when the players found out, on top of the scandal that was revolving around his New Age RMT measures, they had to do some serious damage control. And eventually now Summerblink has shut their doors, which just means there's more customers for the ludicrously rich eBet people and the Gentleman's Cigar Club or whatever Mittens has set up or something. So even to this day, we still have pretty controversial stuff that surrounds the CCP, which is the, for example, is the banning policy. Now, if you get banned for however period of time, if you think you're innocent, if you genuinely think you're innocent, how do you sort of protest the ban? If you're banned from the game, you can't log in. If it's the only account you have, you can't send a petition. You might not even be able to send an email, which means you'd have to find out who you're going to email in live. So that just gets backlogged and just takes time. The Alliance logo. I'm not sure if there are any alliances that are still waiting on their logos to be approved. Well, keep waiting, because they're still trying to refine the rules surrounding the new EULA, or terms of service for Alliance logos, something about Goonswarm making money off, I don't know, there's some lawyers involved, I think. And the monument, the Worlds Within a World monument, and the vandalism that surrounded it. I was going to make some comments, but there were succession of articles on a propaganda website, so now I don't really know what to make of it, whether they're CCP are martyrs or they're just being vindictive, I don't know. The Perfect Refine, this is a bit of a personal one, and I love to talk about this with Bakiyuku and how he's a, oh my god, that's so dumb. And nobody gets perfect refine anymore. There is no 100% refine. So what is the point of setting an upper limit which is less than 100%? All we had to go through was Care Bears charging us more than what we were ever going to get, because, oh, well, no, if you refine it perfectly, you get this much. Well, no, nobody's going to get that. So, and the botting versus IS boxing thing. I'm sure many people here have come across When I'm in Space's 10-man Purifier bombing runs, and the other people who do the IS boxing bombing. Replicator, that's the one. But isn't he 32 or something? 36, yeah. So it seems that they've been able to legitimize IS boxing because it requires manual input from a player as opposed to completely automated running of the game. For me, it seems like if you're able to perfectly synchronize your actions, whether through alpha strikes, bombing runs, or even PvEing, that detracts from what's supposed to be the community and the team play aspect of it by doing everything by yourself. So that's not okay, guys, but that's okay. CCP but still has a very close tie with the players, and thus they've continued to hire people from the community, such as Rise, who is here with us, Logibro, and Falcon, I believe it is. Yeah. They hire people based on their skills that they deem, and it sometimes is good, and sometimes they get really, rubbish guys like this guy who used to play Eve, and this guy, I have no idea what he's doing. But sometimes, very rarely, they hit the spot and they recruit the perfect person for the perfect job based on an outstanding resume. and the publicity is absolutely positive, for sure. Now, what we've seen since Crucible is the decline of what the company and other people have called the Jesus feature, which is major content introduction. I started playing in Revelations 2.0, so for me, Trinity was absolutely massive. It was a complete overhaul of the graphics and 20 new ships added, including Black Ops, Jump Freighters, EASs, and then in Apocrypha we have the T3 ships. So it seems to be declining, and I wonder if it's because of any number of these player pressure, or the CCP is going in a completely new direction, or it's something that they're working on but haven't quite released yet. Regardless, as long as EVE remains a subscription-driven game, that is, if people stop playing, then there is no more revenue. So there's going to continue to be a close tie between the players, as Rise said, giving feedback and almost rage feedback to the company, and the company compromising and turning it down, or laying their direction based on player feedback. So I look forward to the changes that are coming in 2015 forward, and thank you.
Thank you, Musa. I always knew that was going to be a little bit spicy, and I quite liked it. It was good.